The subject we're looking into today is the geopolitical significance of borders in contested areas. We will also examine how culture, symbolism, economics, and sovereignty are also interconnected into political geography, and how this in turn creates issues of conflicts between nations. The region of the world we're going to be looking at today is Southeast Asia. Currently, there's an ongoing disagreement over the Spratly Islands, which is a collection of coral reefs, sandbars, islands spread over 410,000 square kilometers. It is claimed in whole or in part by China, Taiwan, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brunei, and the Philippines. Today, military forces from Vietnam, China, Taiwan, Malaysia, and the Philippines occupy about 45 of these islands. Nearly 1,000 miles from China, the Spratly Islands seem to have no inherent value, being tiny, on average less than 5 square kilometers in total, barren with no arable land at all, flat, devoid of fresh water, and presently having no natural harbors. And there's also typhoons, which makes you wonder, why would so many nations be arguing over rights to an area that has so many unappealing characteristics? Well, part of the significance of this location is that the South China Sea, which the Spratly Islands are located in, provide a vital link between the Pacific and Indian Oceans. Nearly half of all global merchant traffic and 80% of all oil en route to Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan pass through this area. And it's also a very productive fishing ground. According to a frequently cited estimate by China's Geology and Mineral Resource Ministry, the region around the Spratly Islands holds oil and natural gas reserves of approximately 17.7 billion tons. If this figure is correct, the area would form the fourth largest reserve bed in the world, and if true, it would make its reserves larger than those present in Kuwait. Since the late 90s, China has intensified its efforts to secure supplies from major oil-producing countries and protect its main oil routes. Therefore, securing sovereignty over the Spratly Islands equates to direct control over some of the world's most important sea lanes. China's participation in world trade and its consequential growing demands for overseas energy and raw material has made the South China Sea and the Spratly Islands an increasingly important resource for Beijing. China's demands for important energy resources is predicted to rise to 50 million tons of oil imports and over 100 billion cubic meters of natural gas by 2020. According to the International Energy Agency, as a percentage of China's total oil need, imports are expected to rise from 34% in 2002 to more than 80% by 2030. This brings the question, how does China's rising oil demands affect the politics of other oil-consuming countries in Asia? Likewise, does this cause friction with other major oil-consuming countries around the globe? However, to better understand the conflicts of interest in this area, we must first examine the history, starting in the 16th century with the Spanish, which was followed in 1898 by the Americans at the conclusion of the Spanish-American War, and then by the French in the 1930s, followed by the Japanese during World War II, until finally the Spratly Islands and much of the surrounding area was returned to the Philippines, which gained its independence after World War II. However, the dispute in the islands within the South China Sea gained prominence in 1978, where the Philippines set out its exclusive economic zone, which formerly included the island Calayan and the Spratlys. In 1988, when China and Vietnam clashed at the Johnson Reef, several Vietnamese boats sank and over 70 sailors died. The Philippines considers China's occupation of the Mischief Reef in 1995 and its repeated incursions into the Scarborough Reef since 1997 as a direct assault on Filipino territory. As a result, conflict arose. In 1996, Chinese ships engaged in a naval battle with a Filipino gunboat near the Campones Islands. In 1998, the Philippine Navy arrested Chinese fishermen off the Scarborough Shoal, and Vietnamese soldiers fired on a Filipino fishing boat near the 10th Reef. Since then, hostilities in the South China Sea has regularly erupted, most prominently between China and the Philippines. The Association of Southeast Asian Nations has not succeeded in engaging China in a multilateral framework of regional cooperation over this issue. However, Beijing has significantly strengthened its position in the region by developing a tightening network of bilateral relations with individual Asian members. As a group, Beijing has neither the institutional means nor the political leverage against China to enforce peace in the South China Sea if Beijing decides to use military force to defend its so-called territorial claims. The dynamics of the China-Asian interactions changed when in 2010 the U.S. administration declared for the first time an interest in the dispute and took up the side of the Asian members. In July, the U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the Chinese Foreign Minister attended the Asian Regional Forum. There, she declared the United States' national interest in seeing a resolution of the rival claims and its support for a collaborative diplomatic process by all claimants for resolving the various territorial disputes without coercion. Beijing, of course, was outraged, with the Chinese Foreign Minister going as far as calling Clinton's remark an attack on China. In January of 2011, U.S. State Department Assistant Secretary for Asia and Pacific Affairs Kurt M. Campbell confirmed that the United States has strategic interest in the South China Sea. Likewise, the Obama administration also clarified that while it was not taking sides on the claims to sovereignty over the islands in the South China Sea, it did have concerns about claims to territorial waters or any maritime zone that was not consistent with the Law of the Sea Convention. The Asian claimants, however, welcomed the U.S. involvement in multilateral deliberation on the Spratly Islands, which gave them more resolve as the U.S. served as a counterweight against China.